In today's episode, we talk about Valtteri to Cadillac, a new NASCAR San Diego street course coming soon, the 2028 IndyCar Regulations, and recaps from this past week's races. We also talk about if Kevin Estre and Porsche got screwed over, and some motorsports hot takes. So let's get right into it. Hello and welcome to Apex to Oval. I'm your host Alex. This is my co-host Jack. And we're here to bring you racing updates, hot takes, and breaking stories from across the motorsports world. Whether it's the latest F1 drama, shocking developments in NASCAR, or the news stories you might have missed, we've got it covered. Buckle up because we're driving straight into the action. In today's episode, we have 2 F1 articles, 2 NASCAR articles, 2 IndyCar articles, race recaps from the Truck, Xfinity, IndyCar, and Cup Series races, our predictions for the Trucks, Xfinity, Cup, and F1 races, and we have our main story, was Kevin Estre and Porsche robbed, and some motorsports hot takes from F1 and NASCAR. So let's get right into it. What was the first news story of this week that we kind of decided?
So Valtteri, in typical fashion, posted a cryptic but not really all that cryptic video to social media asking if we liked a Cadillac seat.
I think yes. I would love to see Valtteri in the Cadillac seat.
I also would love to see him in the Cadillac seat. I think the problem with him posting that is either it's what it looks like, which is the most obvious reveal of all time, or he's trolling all of us. And both would be so on brand for Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah.
So, like,
so on brand. We're still guessing here. It's I really hope he gets. I hope him and Checo are in the seat together. And you got Max's ex and
I
Lewis's
would love
ex.
to see him back in the series. You would love to have an ass calendar to buy. I mean,
Oh my God! I was talking about that the other day with Jack in DMs. I was like, Jack, I would love Valtteri to drop a calendar so I can get another account. I don't have the first one. I never got it. I would like one. So Valtteri, please drop one. Fuck Mercedes. Anyway, we both want to see Valtteri in the Cadillac, so let's get it on, Cadillac.
And we already see him every race weekend because he's like the super third driver. So
yeah, for Mercedes. So
it's like, yeah, he's like the third driver for every Mercedes powered team.
Yeah. Yep. Give this man a seat. Into our next F1 story, Dino, Beganovic, and Alex Dunne are replacing Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris for FP1 this weekend in Austria. Just interesting. I don't know. Like, I'm excited. I think this is definitely Alex Dunne's first time in Formula One testing. I don't know about Dino's. Dino. I don't know if it's his first time, but I know it's Dunne's first time, especially with all the hate he was getting after he tried something new in an F2 race and crashed. I'm excited to see what he can do in an F1 car.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I mean, you know, you see these kind of FP1 testing sessions a lot, but it's interesting to see. It's less. I think both of these are less immediately significant than like Arvid, being able to run in practice. But you know, who knows? Maybe these are future candidates for these other teams, because that's where you start to see people who might end up having a shot at some of these seats, right?
Yep.
You know, you get guys who run testing, and you could see who's being considered seriously or not, and how they match to the teammate on pace and whatever pre-race program they're running, and also see who might get tapped to do a spot start, because you know, a lot of times the team goes around who they might have as a third driver, and they might find someone else. So.
Yep. Yeah. Let's go to NASCAR real quick for some news articles. News you might have missed. Ryan Blaney was kind of struggling to stand up after the race at Pocono, falling to the ground multiple times during this not podium ceremony, but like during like the celebrations, and kept falling to the ground. And that was due to a cooling suit malfunction on lap 15. So he was had extreme heat exposure, which gave him heat exhaustion. He was tended to, and he is okay. now, but during the whole race and everything, he was suffering from a lot of heat exhaustion, which sucks.
Yeah, I'm surprised this wasn't reported as much as it was during the race. Because this has happened a few other times, and those other times we have heard about it more on the broadcast. But especially with how aggressively hot it was in the region. I mean, I'm a few hours west of there, but it was well into the 90s, like in the low 90s that day, I believe. That day being yesterday, as we're recording this. And when your cool suit malfunctions, it's worse than if you were just not wearing one, because you're then surrounded by basically boiling water, right?
Yeah.
If it's not being actively cooled, you're being passively warmed, I guess. Like it is
Boiled
worse
to
than
death.
just no cool suit. And so it is a really terrible thing to have happen, and I'm very glad that he's okay. Also, with the rate that this has happened, just the fact that it's happened multiple times recently, I wonder if there's a way to improve that.
There should be. Like, they need to. That's actually one of the things that was called up upon with some of these articles. Is like they were all like, "Yeah, this is an issue. The NASCAR needs to fix it
Yeah.
because it's not doing too well right now."
No, like that. This should not happen. You shouldn't have. It's 2025. You shouldn't have drivers like borderline needing hospitalization after a race because one thing is prone to malfunctioning.
Yeah, it's fully on NASCAR at this point. It's the ball is in their court, and what we've seen from past issues might take a while. Anyway, moving on.
NASCAR is working toward finalizing a deal to race on a street course in the San Diego area next year, according to The Athletic, which would be returning the Cup Series to the Southern California market after being gone since Auto Club Speedway in, I think really since pre-COVID. Really, they haven't been around there except for like the Clash at the Coliseum, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
it would be like I think 6 years.
since they had a real race there.
Yeah.
So, any thoughts on that as our resident Northern California fan?
At least it's not LA. That's a positive. And San Diego now gets to host something. The Chargers left them.
Bleep,
Screw
bleep,
you.
Spanos.
Bleep Spanos. But they finally have something sporting wise there. I mean, they do have the Padres, but who cares about the Padres?
A lot
NASCAR's
of
coming
people,
back there.
actually.
No,
Actually, a lot of people love the Padres.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Don't disrespect Fernando Tatis like that. But that's not this.
But yeah, I'm happy for San Diego. I think they deserve a course around there. I'm just happy it's not LA.
Yeah, and I think we've been getting a
Sue
good
me.
road racing, street racing product. And I think that San Diego is a very pretty backdrop to have one. I think it makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. It's an important market. It's a great place to have it. It's not LA, as you said, which trying to do a street race in LA might... I mean, somehow all the cars would get stuck in traffic. But hopefully it works out.
Yeah. I'm gonna actually segue this. So, Jack, your
Yeah.
favorite IndyCar driver is who? The genuine question.
My honest answer?
Christian
Is Pato
Rasmussen.
O'Ward.
Good answer. Oh.
Okay. Oh,
All right.
sorry. Christian
You're-
Razzie Rasmussen.
Rasmussen. Who is your least favorite IndyCar driver?
Connecticut native Santino Ferrucci, which pains me to say.
And now, talk about this next article.
Okay. So, because of my love for Santino Ferrucci, known great person who there definitely wasn't more discourse about on the internet this week. He was just a kid. He makes mistakes. Don't act like you haven't made a mistake. Sorry, I haven't. I haven't done the things that he's done. I apologize. But he now has his 4th top 5 in a row and his 2nd podium in the last few races, which brings me such joy. Enough so that Alex is making me report this to you all.
How many top 5s in the last 4 races?
I said that. It was 4. Oh, wait. Yeah, 4.
Thank you. No, I just want to hear you repeat it.
You just wanted to hear it again? Okay, fine.
I just want to hear it again.
Fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, so we
Woodbury,
get off this.
the pride of Woodbury, Connecticut, has his 4th top 5 in a row.
Fantastic news. All right. I'm going to get into my news story for IndyCar. The IndyCar Series has announced their new car coming in 2028. There are some changes, so I'll list them. Some of the ones that are known right now are that their 2.2-liter V6 is turning into a 2.4-liter V6. So much change. Pizzazz hands.
Hey,
no, but
at least it's getting bigger.
It's going to get bigger. There's going to be more power. So that's a good thing. Then their gearbox is going to be 25 pounds lighter than it is now. That's crazy. And their new chassis will integrate a new driver's seating position. It would include an integrated aero screen, which the current one is separate from the actual car. It can be removed. This new one, I believe, will be integrated into the chassis, so it will not be able to be removed on demand. And it will contain a new roll hoop. So, I like it. I think these changes are fun, especially the bigger engine. At NASCAR, you should take what they're doing and put it in your series. Jack, do you have any thoughts?
If it takes either a Cadillac F1 seat or 2028 to end the run of Alex Palou dominance, so be it.
No, Palou's not. No. He's going to be like a 10-time champion, like, by the time he retires. Just saying.
All right. You're from your mouth to God's ears, or however the saying goes.
What?
But
What?
I forget how the saying goes. I don't know.
Right.
But it hopefully it's I mean, we won't know anything until it's on track, but Spec Series gets car upgrade. Fingers crossed.
Yes. Let's go into our race recap real quick. This race we're not going to talk about very much. This wasn't as exciting as the other 3 that we're going to talk about. But it was the Truck Series at Pocono Raceway. Lane Riggs was your winner. Me and Jack were both wrong. Very, very wrong. Hocevar was in the mid-teens, and then Heim was in the late teens, early 20s. It was overall just terrible predictions from us. I believe Hocevar got a penalty too. It was a whole just mess. And Lane Riggs took the checkered flag. Going on to the Xfinity Series at Pocono Raceway, your winner was Connor Zilic, who is not really a good, he's a good driver, but he's not known for his ovals, and the man won an oval.
Yet. He's not known for ovals yet.
You're right, yet. But he won an oval race, which is amazing. Our predictions were Chase Elliott and Sheldon Creed. They did not win. I will tell you that. Jack, do you have any other comments about the Xfinity Series race?
I think the big highlight for me is Connor Zilic first win on not an oval. Pocono's a triangle, but first win not on a road course. And I believe it came with a certain someone involved in the race team, because Dale Earnhardt Jr. was his crew chief.
Yes,
So
sir.
Zilic wins on a non-road course in the 88 car with Dale Jr. on the box. I mean,
Yeah, screw you, Kyle Larson. It's not just for show. Or not Kyle Larson. Not Kyle Larson. Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch said that. He's like, it's just for show. It doesn't mean anything. Well, I think it does. He won an oval.
Just saying.
Jack, do you want to tell us where Sheldon Creed landed?
In the back. It's like what, 36?
36 out of 38. Yeah, it was a rough day.
Hey, it's not like that was on pure pace.
Hey, Austin Hill didn't win either, so it was fine. Because you said Austin Hill was going to win last week, and Sheldon Creed wasn't. And none of them won. So.
Yeah, good.
But my baby boy won, and that's all that matters. Let's go to IndyCar for the Expel Grand Prix. Your winner was Alex Palou, which I guessed correctly, but let's be honest, it's a red course. There is no reason to pick anyone else but Palou. Jack, you picked Pato O'Ward.
Okay, sue me.
Do you have to? Do you want to talk about it, or
sue me?
Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Who else was I gonna pick? Who else was I gonna pick? Scott Dixon? I should have.
Marcus Armstrong.
No.
Hey, that's fine.
But as far as
pick
talking about it, our Sunday was full of fuel saving, races.
Yes.
We'll get into this with the Cup Series too, but Scott Dixon nearly pulled off a fuel saving masterclass.
And so did Palou almost. Palou,
oh yeah, well I mean nearly pulled off for Dixon because he is incredible at it, veteran of the series.
Yeah,
incredible IndyCar veteran. But Palou beat him out. And
well, here's the other thing.
Still only 2 winners on the year. Yeah,
but here's the thing about Palou's win. He technically, Scott Dixon probably should have ran out of fuel earlier. His fuel saving master what do you call it? Mastery. He's really good at fuel saving, so that's why he didn't, have to pit earlier. He pit on the last lap. But Palou pitted 2 laps after Scott Dixon and had 1 extra lap in him after the race ended. So, not bad for Palou either. I do just want to point out that the fuel issue was so bad that 15 to 20 seconds after the race ended, there were 5 people beached on turn 1 because they ran out of fuel, which was so funny to see. I was like, why?
Aren't fuel races so funny?
They're so great. They're so good.
As long as you know what's going on, I love fuel mileage races.
I like it.
That is one thing that I miss. Well, not miss per se, but that is one thing that F1 misses out on by banning refueling.
Yep.
Is that there's no strategy involved with fuel anymore. And that's such an important element of strategy for what could otherwise be not the most entertaining rate. Because you see fuel mileage races at Pocono a lot in NASCAR. We've actually had a few really good fuel mileage races this year in NASCAR. Now we got a banger of a fuel mileage race in IndyCar. I Road America.
Bring back refueling to F1. Just be more safe about it.
Ignore the fires.
Ignore the fires. Let's go to the Cup Series now. And at Pocono again. The same thing with the Xfinity and the trucks. Chase Briscoe won this race.
Oh, it was...
and it was beautiful.
Pure talent. He traded his hairline for talent.
Yep. No hairline, all the talent.
None. It's gone. It's gone.
It's gone.
He was posting about it after too, because he got violated on some of those TV angles, but.
Yeah, so we had together. I had Hamlin, who finished second, and Jack had Byron.
I had Blaney.
Or Blaney. Yeah, Blaney. I forget where Blaney
third,
ended
right?
up.
I swear that just was the top 3.
Yeah, Blaney finished third. So we were close this time.
Yeah, Hamlin was in position to win it. Chase Briscoe left his pit stall too soon. Some kind of miscommunication on the last round of pit stops. Immediately they're on the radio. Oh my God, we're screwed. Oh my God, we're screwed. Chase Briscoe, over the rest of the run, proceeds to save so much fuel while leading the race and still turning in incredible lap times. Like, he was still running some of the fastest lap times despite not using the brake. Any of that. He was saving a full mile per gallon more than the field. Like, he was at like 5.7. The rest of the field was at 4.7 according to like the prime graphic. And it stays in front and wins it. And you can criticize it saying, hey, maybe it's bad that Briscoe could save that much fuel and Denny still couldn't get past him. But it is incredible to save that much fuel and stay in front.
Yeah. One thing I do have to say, I saw a lot of fans being like, "Oh, the wrong Chase won. The wrong Chase won." Chase Elliott is not a good driver anymore. He ain't winning. He's not winning the championship. Deal with it.
That's bold.
And it's all his crew chief's fault. Because that man has talent, but that crew chief is dog water. So, until you get a new crew chief, stop saying that it's the wrong Chase who won.
That's bold. But Chase Briscoe is a massive talent.
100%.
He was dragging, like, after Harvick, like, Harvick was really dominant in, like, 2020. Basically, as soon as Briscoe got to Stewart-Haas, he was carrying that organization. No one else could do anything in those cars, and he was still finding a way to sneak into some wins. And, I mean, we have our predictions where we both predicted different Joe Gibbs drivers as the biggest surprise for this year. And, Chase Briscoe was my pick, Ty Gibbs is yours. They are both extremely talented race car drivers. And we especially saw that from Briscoe this week. We've seen that from Gibbs a lot. We've talked about Gibbs a lot.
We have, dude, I remember, I feel like I posted on social media. Someone made a video, like, back when the season started, and they're like, who's the person who's going to be the biggest surprise this season? And I said Ty Gibbs. I got roasted in the comment section. Look at me now. Anyway.
Chase Briscoe, man, he is a good driver. I have been a big fan of him on track specifically, not off track per se. But on track specifically, a big fan of his talent since he was tearing it up in Xfinity. And, you've seen him live up to that even in bad cars, and now he's hitting his stride in Joe Gibbs cars, and he's getting pole positions, he's winning races, he's out-dueling Denny friggin' Hamlin, who has, 7 Pocono wins under his belt
7
in a fuel
Pocono
mileage
wins
race.
And 11... he's 11th on the all-time standings in wins.
Like, if you're out fuel saving, out dueling Denny friggin' Hamlin, like, that's in equal equipment. That's impressive to me. It was just a very good showing from him this weekend.
Them JGR boys are
they are
damn
good.
Are. They're damn good.
I mean, it makes you forget that Christopher Bell won like 3 races in a row or whatever it was.
Yep. Yeah, early season he won 3 races in a row, then Denny's won 3, and now Briscoe has his.
Like, you forget that Seabell was elite to start the year. You forget that Denny's still Denny, and then Ty Gibbs and Chase Briscoe have both been really good as of late. Like,
yeah. I'm loving it. I'm loving the JGR boys. The sad thing is, Bubba did get knocked down to 12th in the standings right now.
Well, the 2311 cars also all had brake issues for this race. So back to bad luck for Bubba, back to bad luck for that 2311 team.
And by the way, I just want to point out, Ryan Preece has another top 10. That is his 7th.
He's good. What can you say?
And he is still 14th in the standings.
There are so many people out there.
Though he doesn't have a win, so he's probably like 16th. Or like
there are
17th.
a lot of people who are surprised that Ryan Preece is doing this well. There are so many people out there that are sending out the biggest I told you so's, seeing what's happened now that Preece is finally in a competitive car.
Oh, I love it.
He's
it.
So talented, and it's great to watch him work now that he's actually in a car that lets him.
Yeah.
Instead of in, what's now Hayek equipment, basically.
Yeah. Let's get into predictions for next week. So, We have the trucks at Lime Rock, which I'm going to be there, which I'm very excited about. It is my first ever race, period. Any series, first ever race. So I'm really excited. I get to watch the trucks and ARCA on Saturday. So I'm super hyped for that. Can't wait to see Tony Reidinger. Can't wait to see Roger Carruth. Can't wait to see Corey Heim. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody in the truck series. I probably am. You know what? Screw it. Throw in Frankie Muniz at this point. But the main three are Heim, Breidinger, and Carruth, which I'm really excited to see. So I'm very excited for that. Then you have the Xfinity Series at Atlanta Motor Speedway on Friday. Oh yeah, here are the dates. Friday you have the Xfinity Series at Atlanta Motor Speedway at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. On Saturday at 1 p.m. you have the trucks at Lime Rock. And on Saturday night. Yes, I think
Saturday
I
under
forgot
the
to
lights.
change it.
Prime time.
Saturday.
Yep.
On Saturday at 7, you have the NASCAR Cup Series race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I believe this is the first race of the in-season tournament, if I'm not wrong.
Sounds correct. Yep.
And Denny's on pole, baby. I'm pretty sure he's on pole.
Yeah, Denny's the one seat because the way they did seating was stupid. We've talked about this.
Nope, it's not stupid. Denny is the number 1 seed. It's not stupid at all.
All right.
And then on Sunday you have the Austrian Grand Prix at 9 a.m. Eastern. Let's get into the predictions for the trucks race. Or let's start with Xfinity because it's on Friday. I have Jesse Love to reclaim another win. He's been damn good. Finished second last race. I have him going first in Atlanta.
We're at Atlanta. I'm picking Austin Hill. Not much more to it. I'm sorry. I'm trying to sneak an easy one while I can. Although, I say that and it's not going to happen. But
for the trucks, give me Raja Carruth. Now, this is me just, manifesting it. Because I really want Raja to win. I have 2 people I want to win the most. Raja and Tony Breidinger. And if one of them win, I'll be happy. But, Jack, who do you have?
I have Corey Heim. The Truck Series does not race at road courses often. But when they do, Corey Heim is, I guess as usual, but Corey Heim is really expected to be kind of the class of the field. This is a weekend that because they're not overlapping with Cup, you don't have Cup guys there. And so he doesn't have terribly strong competition as far as road course racers would go. He's got a couple road course ringers in those Spire trucks, but other than that, you're looking at guys like Ty Majeski, like Ben Rhodes, like maybe a Grant Enfinger, like veterans of the series. But give me Corey Heim over those guys on a road course.
Darn, I wanted to see SVG dominate Lime Rock, dude.
SVG in a truck would go crazy.
Dude, that'd go absolutely nuts. Let's go Cup Series at 7 p.m. on Saturday. I got Denny.
I got Byron. I mean, 2 very strong drivers at Atlanta, drafting track. I mean, and this has been a better
Kyle
drafting
Larson
track for Chevys than some others.
Yeah, I could just see Kyle Larson just coming in and beating everyone by 30,000 seconds at this point.
Well, that wouldn't happen at Atlanta because it is a drafting track. But
let me make my joke. Let me make my joke. Then we have the F1 Austrian Grand Prix. I got Piastri, hot hand, top 4 in the past. He's got top 4 every race since Australia, where he finished 9th. Hot hand, dominant driver. I got Piastri to triple Lando Norris's win total for this season.
We're in Austria. Give me a Red Bull. Give me Max. I mean, it's Austria, you know?
Yeah. The Austria and what's it called? Dutch.
Zandvoort.
Is always Zandvoort is always where Max shines. So, yeah. Let's get into the main story for today. Jack, I don't know if you were aware of the 24 hours of the Nordschleife, the Nürburgring, but there was a race going on this past weekend, and Porsche dominated. but they got a certain penalty for a crash where the Aston Martin flipped, and everyone is saying it is Estre's fault. Now, I'm going to give my take on it. Kevin Estre is in the faster car. This Aston Martin is a backmarker. This Aston Martin was also blue flagged for 3 consecutive corners and decided not to give way. Estre, he then finally leaves space for Estre to go up the inside. Estre then takes the inside. The Aston Martin then closed the door on Estre, knocking himself out of the race, flipping his own car over after he was blue flagged 3 times in 3 corners and should have just stayed over to the left. And Kevin Estre and Porsche got screwed. I am also very biased because I'm a Kevin Estre fan and I'm also a Porsche fan. But from what it seems like and what it seemed like on the broadcast and what it seemed like after the fact, Porsche got screwed.
You know, I see what you're saying. I understand where you're coming from. Unfortunately, I think both precedent and the regulations and all of that are pretty cut and dry here, that in spirit, it doesn't seem very fair. I think that, like, based on the rules themselves and what's happened in the past and what's happened to competitors and stuff in the past, I think that it maybe deserved is the wrong word, but it at least makes sense. Like, it may be unfortunate, but I wouldn't call it a robbery.
Interesting. What would you call it?
Unfortunate.
would you given the penalty to Estre, or would you have taken the Aston Martin driver's license away and banned him from all MotorSports? Because that's what I would have thought.
Interesting.
I don't know why you leave the door open and then promptly close it when the car is halfway up your car after you've been blue flagged 3 laps in a row or 3 corners in a row. But
maybe given the gravity of it and some of those mitigating circumstances in typical FIA style with the term mitigating circumstances. But I might lighten the penalty a little bit if it were me, but I would still certainly penalize the Porsche team. I might, have a chat with the Aston Martin team, but I certainly don't think that a penalty was misplaced in being given to Porsche there. It's pretty cut and dry in the replay, regardless of the circumstances.
Even when the Porsche wasn't the one that moved over and it was the Aston Martin who moved over?
Yeah, unfortunately, taking a lot of the context away, the Porsche's trying to dive bomb there.
Okay. Tell me
it's
more.
Not like they were side by side when it happened, like directly side by side.
Yes, but if you are also, I do want to say blue flags are like, respect the blue flags. Also, like, stay to the side, especially if you're in a back marker car. Like, think of this. Ocon and Max in that one race. Ocon's getting lapped. Max passes him. Ocon fights back and takes both him and Max out of the corner. Lewis swoops in, wins the race. Max.
Oopsies.
Yada, yada, yada.
Max was very nice to Ocon there, I believe.
Oh, he totally didn't rush over after the race ended and try to beat him up.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Very complimentary.
Not at all. I do actually feel bad for Estre, not only because I'm a fan, but, like, dude, he was he was just standing over the car wing, just sulking, and I was like, dog, this isn't fair. Like, yes, like, the penalty can be seen as justified, and yes, it can also be seen as a robbery, but, like, the dude is the greatest driver at the Nürburgring in its history. The dude's also one of the, like, not probably, the dude's the greatest Porsche driver of all time in the modern day. Like, this isn't some, like, run-of-the-mill driver. And I know Estre didn't mean to do it, right? But also, it was his fault, and it partially wasn't his fault. So, I just felt bad for him, seeing him stand over his car, like, crying. Or, like, not crying, but, like, sulking. Because that pissed me off. Because the dude was unfreaking believable the other couple of hours he was in the car. The dude was unreal, dude. His highlights of the Nordschleife are disgusting. But yeah. Anyway, let's get into some motorsports hot takes. We have 3 F1 and 3 NASCAR. One of the F1 hot takes is mine. My own. Now, I've seen it around the internet, but I wholeheartedly agree with it, so that is why I am calling it mine. But this has been introduced as a hot take before. So, let's get into the first hot take, and that is Vettel is a Newey merchant.
What does that even mean?
I think it means that Vettel didn't win shit after he left Newey.
Oh no,
means.
good driver only won when had good car. What is this, Formula 1?
Yes. Yes, it is. I also saw another one that was like Max is a car merchant, and I was just like, dog, every F1 driver is a car merchant. What do you mean?
That's what happens when you have a purely like a 0% spec series.
Yeah. Like, dude, they're all car merchants, dude. The only driver that maybe you could make a case for not being a car merchant, but also, like, you still could, because, like, the first half of the season, his car was far with a double diffuser, was Jensen Button. That's the only one you could make maybe wasn't, because that second half of the season, that car was abysmal for the most part. But, again, the first half of that season, the dude won every race. Like, you can't say it's, like...
I mean,
I do agree, though. No, I'm just kidding.
Like, at some point, if you have a world championship caliber driver, right, and we've had this conversation as far as, like, Piastri versus Norris, stuff like that, as far as who could actually go win a championship. But if you have a world championship caliber driver in a world championship caliber car, they are going to win it, unless there is another world championship caliber driver in a world championship caliber car. Vettel was clearly a world championship caliber driver. He was also clearly in a very good car. That's not a bad thing.
It is not. Especially nowadays, it's not. Because team orders are not always a thing. Like, back in, there's a reason why team orders realistically are technically banned from the sport. And by that, I mean, like, final lap, your second driver's in first, and you have the driver swap. Like, there's a reason why that's banned.
Yeah. But, speaking of second drivers, there's a reason that Vettel won 4 in a row. There's a reason that Valtteri didn't win over Lewis at any point.
Yep.
Right? There's still such there's so much talent expression still, regardless of if you're in the fastest car.
Yeah. You could also make a point that, say, a Weber or a Ricciardo, when it comes to Max, or a Valtteri, are world championship material, but they're not. They weren't the better driver of the two that were at the team at the time, so they're not going to be They're not going to be favored.
Well, so I'm definitely not convinced that Valtteri was. I just think that he was a rapid driver that was a perfect second driver for a world championship team.
But a lot of people will say that, especially Daniel Ricciardo. Like, Daniel Ricciardo, in the right car at the right time, could have definitely won a world championship.
I don't know if he had it in him.
Everything,
personality-wise. I don't know.
Maybe,
that's hard to say.
But here's the thing. I personally think he was if everything fell his way.
But it's not going to. But I see what you're saying.
But,
I have him in that,
in a perfect scenario, he could be a world champion.
I have him in that Lando tier where, he can be a first driver. He can be a very good driver. I just don't know if I see him winning a driver's championship, mentality-wise.
I mean, probably. I mean, again, for me, everything would have to fall into place perfectly, and that's just not going to happen, so it would have never happened. But
hey, speaking of both Lando Norris and things that never happened.
This next hot take is...
for you.
Yeah, what is the hot take?
Put Alex Albon in the McLaren, and he would be doing better than Lando Norris.
Agreed. 100% agreed. 100% agree. No, I agree with this 100%. Wholeheartedly, no joke, I actually do agree with this.
I
also is rapid.
100% back this one. I think that Albon has gotten a bad rap, both because, he's in a lot of ways British, but as a driver that reps Thailand, right?
Yeah.
as a driver of color, so it were, at least relative to the very white man that the rest of the field is.
Except for Lewis.
Except for Lewis, of course.
Just put that
Of course, except for Lewis. But I think that also mentioning Lewis backs the point of, like, you get viewed a little bit differently when you're not a white man driving in Formula One.
Yep. Or British. If you're not British, which Alex Albon is realistically Thai driver, right? He does have British ties, but he runs under the Thai flag. You're not going to be seen as favorable, which sucks.
And you combine those factors with the rocky start at Red Bull, and being compared to Max, and it's tough to build favor, but he has rebuilt his career so well, and he is rapid in that Williams car.
Mm-hmm.
And he has been rapid.
Yeah, I think if he was at Mercedes, even McLaren obviously, but if he was at like a Mercedes, I think he still beats Lando. That's my hot take. I think he still beats Lando, even if he's in the second best car.
Ooh, I don't know about that one.
Rapid.
Just because the Williams has had so many reliability issues this year that, at some point you'd have to separate out what might be him and his racecraft. Like, some of that we can't totally tell, because obviously the Mercedes has also had reliability issues this year, particularly with Kimi.
That is true.
But I do think that Albon is a very, very good driver.
Yeah. We're gonna go to this third one. Now, this is my personal one. Like, if I could have any hot take, this would be mine. And it's F1 should be a spec series. For the racing, for the equality of the teams, I think it needs to be a spec series. Because, like, think about, like, just put NASCAR, right, as, like, just an easy one. NASCAR, the races are normally pretty fucking close within, like, a couple of seconds, if not within a second, right? The field is, for the most part, damn close. And, the drivers itself stands out more than the car at times. Well, in F1, the car normally shines more than the driver. You put a spec... Also with in my opinion, how far apart everyone is because their cars are not equal. For me, the racing can sometimes be seen as boring or not fun. Because when the good driver in the best car gets in the front, it's not really a question sometimes. And that's not... Like, for me, that doesn't make it good racing. Like, it's a good series, great racing, but, like, again, if you compare it to, like, a NASCAR or an IndyCar where they're spec series, the field's closer, and, like, sometimes as we saw with this past weekend, Pillow wasn't leading every lap, and up until when he needed fuel, Scott Dixon was giving Pillow a run for his money, so, you have that. In F1, it's normally, like, really far apart when it comes to everyone, and what teams are going to be good and what teams are going to be bad once after the first, like, 2 or 3 races.
Yeah, I actually disagree with this one, which may be surprising because my opinions on the F1 racing product, but I think that's the point of F1. I think that F1 is, I don't want to say the only form of pure motorsport, because endurance racing is very pure.
Yes.
But other spec series that do exist either exist for driver development purposes, which makes sense, or exist because it's a way to both manage costs and improve the on-track product. Both, right? If you look at, like, American series like IndyCar and the NASCAR Cup Series, F1 sells itself. The appeal of F1 is that it may have fewer drivers on track. It may be a far inferior actual racing product on track than some of these other spec series, but it is the pinnacle of motorsport, like, technologically, right? Like, F1 has been the testing ground for a lot of these new technologies. Some of them have made it into cars, right? The car that I drive has a CVT, for example, and that is certainly, like, was at first an F1 motivated innovation, and that is the true appeal of F1. Is that you're at the bleeding edge of automotive, of motorsport technology, and that lends itself to these big gaps when different teams are ahead of others. It does not lend itself as well to drive to survive type driver narratives, driver fandoms like we get in F1 fandom today, but I still, at my core, I may rag on the driving product a lot, but I believe that's what F1 is for. It's for that technical development. It's for the big gaps that you see, and then because it makes the competitiveness so much better when it does happen. But that just comes with the product being bad a lot, and that's okay because of what it represents to me.
Okay. Yeah, I actually really like the points you made. So I'm still on the side of the spec series because I want to see better racing, but I do actually understand, and I do actually like the way you put it. Is they value themselves on A, pinnacle of motorsports, and B, 20 best drivers in the world. You want them to shine.
Although I don't think that the last one is ever going to be true.
No,
but
it's not. Actually, there's another hot take I was going to put on, where it's like, and I'll talk about it now. It was F1 will never have F1 will never prove they have the 20 best drivers in the world until they allow spots to go race in other series, weeks to race in other series' biggest events.
Yeah, I also think that they need to relax some of the super license requirements, or at least update them, because I personally don't believe that there's an argument right now that Alex Palou is not one of the top 20 open wheel racers in the world right now.
Agreed.
I certainly think that he's one of the top 22, and talent-wise, certainly should at least be in consideration for maybe a Cadillac seat alongside Valtteri. But you have talents like that. You have guys in NASCAR that you don't really get to see what they could do, like a Kyle Larson type who, truly believes, and many truly believe can race anything. He doesn't have the opportunity because he's in a spec series, in a very competitive, very high-end spec series. He wouldn't have the opportunity to go race an F1 car.
Also, I think allowing F1 cars or F1 drivers to race in other series' biggest events, i.e. in the Indy 500, i.e. the 24 Hours of Le Mans, i.e. the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, right, for GT cars, for, prototypes and all that. And I think allowing your drivers to, if they want to, enter the race, I think is the right thing to do. Because, again, if your driver, say an F1 driver does really, say Max enters the Indy 500, say he freaking dominates the Indy 500, right? He's scared of ovals and he's scared of IndyCar, so he's not going to go there. But say he does, and he dominates, right? That's going to bring so much positive publicity to F1 itself because Max is able to do it in another series.
Exactly.
In the biggest
They've got to defend it.
Yeah. If you're going to, that's my biggest gripe with F1 is, if you're going to say you have the 20 best drivers, let them defend that. Don't just schedule races when other big races are, because then you're just not defending it. You're just letting them race in your races. Let them race in the 24 Hours of Le Mans or the Indy 500. The Daytona 500 doesn't really count in that retrospect because that happens before the F1 season starts. But, allow them to race in, other racing series during the season. If you have to shorten the schedule, do it so that they can race in other major series. Let Lando Norris race in MotoGP for a week. Figure that out. Or, have the F1 championship where, drivers can pick and choose what races they want to enter, not like they did back when it first started, right? Where, you get, say there's 24 races in the season. Say you get 20 races that are counted towards your championship. You get to choose which 20 you enter. Those 20, are set. You get 4 races you don't have to attend. You can go to another series, yada, yada, yada. Because I think that's the biggest issue with Max and the GT cars right now is he wants to race in GT. He wants to race on these big races for GT, and he's not able to because of F1. He had to, do secret testing this week off. No, let him race in GT if he wants while being an F1 driver. A lot of NASCAR drivers, they do dirt racing too while they're in NASCAR, right? So, stuff like that. All right, on to our NASCAR hot takes. If I can find my mouse, which I can't. There we go. Okay, you ready for this, Jack? First one.
Born ready for this.
Kevin Harvick is better than Kyle Busch and was the most talented driver in the 2010s. I can see the first part. The second part, no. I don't think he was the most talented in the 2010s. I think there was a lot of you still had Jimmy Johnson with his dominance. You had Truex in there. Like, there were a lot of very good, talented drivers other than Busch and Harvick that I think you could put over them. But
I'm not sure I agree with either, but that's why they're hot takes.
yeah.
I really do like Kevin Harvick. I did really enjoy Old Man Harvick being so dominant in 2020. I love the freaky fast Jimmy John's cars. I mean, it was Busch after that, like towards the end, but I really did pull for Kevin Harvick. I am not sure I agree with that one.
Sorry, I was just pulling on Kevin Harvick. My bad. I'm also going to pull this out because I believe that this was the most talented driver in the 2010s.
Yeah, I think that's a hard. I think that's a hard argument to lose.
I don't think you can win this argument. Like, you can say another driver's as talented. They're not more talented than Jimmy Johnson. Like, even if you took out the playoffs, that dude would still dominate. Like, it's not. Anyway, the next one is one that I find really funny. Kyle Larson is the most overrated driver in NASCAR right now.
Whoa.
Yeah. This is a hot take.
That's what makes that so hot to me is because people still think Chase Elliott is like cream of the crop elite driver. Like you said, wrong Chase winning kind of thing.
Yeah.
If Chase Elliott was not struggling as much as he has been for as long as he has been, maybe it's a different story. But I think that Larson has reached overrated territory overall. But I think that's just because of how much of the sport, like how big of a fan base he has. Right.
I think also with the amount he wins and the amount he does damn well, I think like it's the same thing. It's like the better you are in your sport, the more overrated you're gonna see. Because if you win 30 out of 31 races one year, the next year you win 2, right? Like Kyle Larson obviously wins a ton of races. He's won 3 this year, won like 9 last year. Like he's obviously been dominant as hell in recent years. But like when you can't back it up, like if you're not getting better and better, you're going to be seen as overrated.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately, deserved or not, he's like a full race behind William Byron in the regular season point standings. He's still in second. But the way that he gets talked about is like he should be far and away number 1. Right?
Yep.
And he certainly doesn't get talked about as if his teammate is equal to or better than him. Which, by the way, speaking of Chase Elliott's struggles, he's still in 5th in the regular season standings.
Yeah, yes. But he's still like barely, like not barely, but like
nobody's thinking of him as a championship guy.
No. I think it was a Pockers tweet. I don't remember. I hope it wasn't for this year. I hope it was like last year, like 2020 or something like that, where he was like, Chase Elliott is like the it guy for the championship this year. I'm pretty sure it wasn't for this year. It was for like a previous year, but I saw that on Twitter, and I was like, it came up on my feed for some reason. I was just dying laughing. But yeah, I think as long as Chase Elliott is in this series, I think Kyle Larson is probably going to be the second most overrated driver. And don't get me wrong, I don't hate Chase Elliott. I really do like him. It's just his fans talk so highly of him, and he never really performs the way that his fans talk about him. Well, it's the same thing with F1 drivers and like Lando Norris. Lando Norris fans will talk like Lando Norris is the greatest driver of all time.
Chase does have a championship. Chase does have a championship.
Understandable. But the way that they talk about him in recent years, like Chase is this, like that guy. Chase is going to win the championship. It's like, no, like there's a lot of really good guys out there that are probably better than him at this point. Like, and they always blame it on the crew chief. Like, the crew chief isn't the guy driving the car. Like, let's be honest. Like, he's not. Chase is driving the car. If you're going to put anything on that team, the number 9, it's going to be Chase Elliott, whether you like it or not. And they don't want to take accountability for it.
Keep in mind that, like, Elliott's crew chief is still Gustafson, right? Who was Gordon's crew chief, who has been Elliott's crew chief his whole career, who's won a championship with him, who's been regarded as a really, really good crew chief.
Yeah. And they're talking, like, his fans will talk about him like the crew chief's the issue. Like, no. It's just Elliott isn't performing right now in the Cup. It's like, it's all right. Like, he doesn't need to. You know? But they just don't seem that. Anyway, the final hot take is Kyle Busch's 200 wins is more impressive than Richard Petty's 200 wins.
Huh. That
I'm gonna...
feels like NASCAR blasphemy. I'm not sure I disagree.
I'm not sure I do either. I kind of like it. I mean, 3 different series, 200 wins.
I think that obviously the difference is that all of Petty's, like Petty's was 200 in Cup, Busch's are 200, including a lot of bushwhacking. And I think that it sounds different now that we're out of that bushwhacking era, where it felt obnoxious to see Cup guys dominate the lower series every week, right?
Yeah.
But Busch had to actually race for him in a lot of cases. A lot of Petty's were kind of free. Like, am I wrong?
Hey, hold on. Absolute cinema. No, you're really not. I mean, like, you're not.
I still back Petty as like, he is. Like, in my opinion, he's the Jordan to, like, the LeBron that is like a Jimmy Johnson or a Dale, depending on how you view it. Like, he did it first. He is, to many people, and honestly, on many days to me, the GOAT of NASCAR. I think that 200 wins number specifically is inflated by the time that it happened.
Also, no offense to Petty, wasn't his 200 wins over like 30 or 40 years? Like, it was
he raced a while.
Time span. Yeah, like, it was over a long. And didn't he race 8 more years after his 200th win and didn't win a single thing? I'm pretty sure that was a thing.
Oh, sounds right.
Like, Petty got his 200th win and then never won again, even though he raced 8 years afterward or something like that. But, like, again, you can't deny Petty's greatness. 200 wins in the Cup is 200 wins in the Cup. But, again, Busch did it in 3 separate series. That arguably has 3 separate driving styles. If you look at, like, if you nitpick it. So, like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Petty has run almost 1,200 races over 35 years. And yeah, the 200 wins is very impressive. But it's Richard Petty. Like, in, you know, yeah, it was 8 years. He went 8 years without a win.
Yeah.
At the end of his career. But I'm not mad at it. I don't hate it. It's not bad. Anyways, that's it for today's podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow us on our socials for more motorsports content, and drop a comment on your motorsports hot takes. Peace.